Hello, everybody, and welcome into the Apples and Ginos Fantasy Hockey Podcast, the podcast you come to when you're finally ready to take fantasy hockey seriously. My name is Blake Creamer, and in this podcast, I'm going to talk about some of the biggest hot shots and have-nots over the last couple weeks. Let's get to biz. Oh, yeah. Welcome in, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me here on the Apples and Ginos Fantasy Hockey Podcast, the flagship show here at A&G, and we appreciate having you here. Again, my name is Blake Creamer. Please give me a follow over on X and Blue Sky at Blake Creamer AG. That's where I'm bringing the tweet heat. I'm getting the biz over there. I'm trying a bunch of different stuff, waiver wire stuff, one thought per game on busy nights here. I'm trying to do stuff. I'm trying to, increase my profile out there on the socials. So please head on over there. Give me a follow. All right. Also check out the Apples and Ginos YouTube. We're doing stuff over there. This podcast and video will be over there on YouTube. I've got a presentation here as well. I'll be playing. So if you feel so inclined, you want to see this ugly mug, get your biscuits over there and do it now. Appreciate that. But yeah, I don't have my friend Nate Groot Nibbelink here today. It's always very sad when I'm without Nate, but yeah, he's predisposed, indisposed. Oh, I don't know. I'm kind of messing up that thing. Usually Nate will be here to define that word for me, and he's not. So I just have to roll with it, folks, and I'm fine with that. But yeah, he will be back. He's getting the biz, but he'll be back next week. So yeah, we'll be back together on the Friday and the Sunday show. But for now, we got to get into some of this stuff here, the top hot shots and have-nots of the last couple weeks. But before that, we got to get into some Newsies. Newsies. Yep. We're doing it. Nikita Kucherov and Braden Point. Oh my gosh. They're injured right now, and that really stinks in the most recent game here. We don't have an update yet from the head coach, so definitely hold your breath. The Kuch injury is one I'm definitely concerned about. Point, I feel like there's a chance he's probably going to come back a little sooner. Kuch's injury didn't look very good to me, so hold your breath, folks. It's going to be a rough ride if either of those players is out for any length of time. In New York, JT Miller, what have you done for me lately, buddy? Damn it! I called him as a buy low, and now he's just hanging low. He doesn't care, but he missed Saturday's game with an upper body injury, so. Yeah, it's been a rough season for JT Miller. There's no question about that. And you just keep an eye on his status moving forward. He's day-to-day. We don't have any real updates as to what's going on there. Elias Lindholm of the Boston Bruins was activated off IR, did play tonight, so that's good. Charlie McAvoy went on to the IR, so just some roster stuff there. But yeah, Elias Lindholm, Boston, they lost the game here, but it's nice to see Elias Lindholm back. That's going to be a net positive for the Bruins. He's going to get out there on power play 1 as well. Doing stuff. Yeah. So if you're looking for Bruins, I think that's a guy that can do stuff for fantasy here. Alexander Romanov of the New York Islanders. Yeah, he's going to be out for 5 to 6 months after taking a big hit from Mikko Rantanen here. A dirty hit, in my opinion. I mean, I don't think Rantanen's a dirty player, but it's kind of hard to say that after the last week and a bit of some of the stuff that has been going on here. But yeah, I feel like Rantanen got sort of cut off a little bit, and he was trying to win a race, and he kind of lost track of where he was on the ice, and then just belted Romanov right into the boards. The guy has to have shoulder surgery here, so that's rough stuff. It's a rough look for Ranto, I think, especially after what happened there in the next game with Matt Coronado taking a hit, a blindside hit from Mikko Rantanen, where that his face was slammed into the boards there. And Rantanen was ejected in that one as well. So because of that, he's automatically suspended for 1 game. That's a league rule. So yeah, it's interesting because I remember Rantanen doing something similar to Philip Hronek in a Dallas Canucks game here recently. So yeah, he's having a stretch. He's got a bee in his bonnet. I don't know. He's making some bad decisions. So not exactly sure what Rantanen is doing, but this is not a player that has a history of doing things like this. So I tend to think it's just an unlucky stretch for him and the guys that he's completely trucking out there on the ice. So anyways, Rantanen with the 1 game suspension there. We got to talk about Andre Burakovsky of the Chicago Blackhawks. He took a hit to the head there recently. He's going to be out indefinitely. There's no update yet. So, I mean, yeah, I think without Burakovsky, the Blackhawks have really been kind of hemorrhaging goals. And I'm not making a correlation there, but I do think that Burakovsky was really good for the chemistry there in the top 6. That keep in mind as well, Frank Nazar was out for a little bit of time where they were really cooking with that chemistry. So now Nazar is back. So he can kind of get in there and maybe hopefully be that catalyst for the team moving forward. But yeah, it's been a rough couple games for the Blackhawks. Let's move on. Thomas Chabot of the Ottawa Senators re-aggravated an injury on Saturday, so he's day-to-day for now until we hear more. Aaron Ekblad also missed a game on Saturday with an illness. He shouldn't miss any more time, but that always stinks at the end of your week when you're hoping for a guy, even if it's Aaron Ekblad, when you're hoping for a guy to get in there and provide you with something, and they got the sniffles, buddy. Come on, you take a Sudafed and you get your biscuits out there and you do it now. All right. Mikael Granlund of the Anaheim Ducks. Granny. He's not skating yet. Could be a little bit while longer for him. I like that look with him in Anaheim, but yeah, he's had some injury problems this year, and Anaheim keeps on trucking. They're doing well. So I think it'll be a really nice piece, a depth piece when Granny gets back in the lineup. And then finally, Roman Josi returned, and the Predators got shut out. Not a great look, but it's nice to have him back. Obviously, when you got a team that's struggling on offense as much as the Predators are, you need this kind of elite play driver. And Josi, when he's at his best, is one of the best in the league at that. So shout out to Roman Josi. Predators been, hot garbage for going on almost 2 seasons now. But getting Roman Josi back in the lineup is definitely going to help. Okay. That's it for the Newsies. I want to get into some of these hot shots, folks. Let's do it. Yeah. And when I'm doing the flagship show, I'm doing hot shots, and some of my Canucks are doing stuff. I'm going to talk about them. All right. And I got to talk about Quinn Hughes. I got to talk about Elias Pettersson of the Vancouver Canucks. Both players starting to cook a little bit, right? I mean, the team, not so much, right? That hasn't been great, but you look at what these players have been able to do. Quinn Hughes in the last 5 games, 11 points, so 1 goal and 10 assists. He's been electric out there, averaging almost 28 minutes a night over that period. That's wild stuff, right? I mean, metrics looking pretty good last 5 games, 51st amongst all D-men in shots and goal per 60. So that's not great, but 14th overall in individual Corsi for, 18th overall in individual scoring chances for. But where Quinn Hughes really shines is his on-ice numbers, right? When he's out there on the ice, he's getting stuff done. He's making things happen. Last 5 games, he's 9th overall in Corsi for per 60, 11th overall in scoring chances for per 60 on-ice numbers, and then on-ice expected goals per 60 rank, he's number 1 over that period as well. So, I think with Quinn Hughes in particular, it's the Canucks power play that's really the only thing that's been going right for the team. They're 9th overall in the league in conversion, which is, it's a nice place to be. They're pretty dangerous out there. The expected goals are fairly high as well. But 5-on-5 has been absolutely painful. It's like watching paint dry out there with the Canucks. And Hughes still doesn't have a goal at even strength. But, why am I talking about that? This is the hot shots. We're here to talk about the good. Okay. And that's what we're going to do. And I think that Quinn Hughes and Elias Pettersson deserve some flowers. So let's dig in quickly here. On Quinn Hughes, he's getting massive minutes, right? That another 29 minutes here on Sunday night, and everything is going through him. I saw a tweet recently from Harman Dial from The Athletic, and the tweet simply reads Canucks at 5-on-5 since November 6th. Shot attempt differential with Quinn Hughes on the ice is a +11. So that's not great, right? But they're a plus. And then shot attempt differential without Hughes on the ice is a -109. I mean, that's quite a swing there. Without Hughes on the ice, they're getting caved in. When he is on the ice, they're actually, a net positive in terms of Corsi for. So yeah, it's, you can see when why he's playing so many minutes, right? Because when he's not out there, the team is getting caved in. So Another metric I like to look at with Quinn Hughes, and something here with players that I'm evaluating is I get from the 18 Skaters Patreon. Our very own Mark Barber has his own Patreon. I want to shout that out. It's not expensive, folks, and it's a really nice supplement to the Apples Ginos Patreon player evaluation tool. There's some correlations, but there's also some extra stuff that Mark does there with his own Patreon. So check that out. But he has a metric in there called in his expected goals model called assists on expected goals. And basically that just tracks the quality of shots that turned into goals where the skater got an assist. So the way that I understand that is, what types of looks that the players are getting when Quinn Hughes is passing them the puck, right? Or when a player's passing them the puck, when he passes you the puck, you're getting a high quality chance that often leads to a goal. And Hughes is number one in that metric, according to Mark's model. And it makes some sense when you watch what he does out there, right? And how he looks. He's also number one in on-ice expected goals and on-ice dangerous shot attempts, which is another metric that Mark looks at. That's basically his version of, scoring chances, right? His own proprietary blend. So all that to say, Quinn Hughes is tilting the ice out there, and the team is getting caved in when he's not. So if the Canucks have any hope of offensive generation, this guy's got to be out there, right? I think we know what this player is. We want him. I just wanted to mention him. Even in a limited offensive environment, which Vancouver does have, he can still pace for 90 points, and he's going to get all the deployment. I think you're going to be happy with your, return on investment on this draft pick. So shout out to Quinn Hughes. I've heard some rumblings too that they're entertaining trade offers. Oh man, this is so brutal. Like I don't even want to think about that. Obviously the haul for Quinn Hughes for Vancouver better be huge. Because this is a generational player. I think he's the second best defenseman in the entire league, and in some aspects, the best, right? I think Cale Makar is more dynamic. He has better goal scoring ability, but Quinn Hughes might be smarter, right? He might just play a more effective, smart game. He doesn't make mistakes, and he's been playing on a bad team for a while now, right? Like imagine what he could do on a team like Colorado, the way Cale Makar is. It's just, yeah, this guy is scratching the surface at his potential, in my opinion. So shout out to him. Quickly, you're going to talk about Elias Pettersson. Petey quietly picked up his game, right? So let's dig in there. 9 points in his last 5 games. That's not including Sunday's game here. Big minutes, right? 22 minutes average time on ice over that time. Metrics with Petey, never really a big thing, right? He's 199th overall in shots goal per 60. Shoot the puck, my man, please. But I'll get into it in a second. But yeah, 199th there. I mean, 258th in individual scoring chances for 60, according to Natural Stat Trick. That's showing no good. But according to Mark's expected goals model, individual expected goals per 60 rank for Elias Pettersson, he's 62nd. So it means like one thing that's different about Mark's expected goal model is that it only counts shots that hit the net, right? So I think this is basically saying that when Petey gets a shot on net, it's a really good chance. Like it's a high danger chance, and he's got a good chance of scoring on that. So, it's a nice little piece there for Petey. On the year, like the metrics they're not great, right? But he does look different out there. I will say that. I can tell you from watching, seems more confident to me. Problem is he doesn't really have anyone to play with. His line is okay, right? But Petey is the guy that should kind of be at the end of passes, and he's kind of needed to do it all out there as the 1C. And also, there's no forward depth after Petey, right? Like, so I think that teams can, game plan for Petey. He can be nullified on any given night just because teams don't have to worry about any other threats, right? That said, he's still getting it done, mostly on the power play. 4 power play points in the last 5 games for Petey. Again, not including Sunday night here. And like I said, his underlines don't really jump off the page. He's not an elite play driver the way some other teams' top centers are, but he's extremely talented. And I think he falls back on that when things aren't really going very well. He's got an elite shot, and he's got a guy like Quinn Hughes passing him the biscuit for now. I think that's a nice place to be, right? He's pacing for 71 points currently. That feels right. I'd feel good about that if he did that. And I should mention as well, Petey's per riffs, in a category league or a points league with banger weighting, he leads all forwards in the league with blocks, 45 blocks in 23 games, and he's getting about a hit per game as well. So that's elite stuff. You probably got him in the 5th to 7th round in your drafts. This guy's paying off big time. So shout out to Petey. Shout out to Quinn Hughes. Vancouver Canucks, legit painful to watch. All right. I will say that. All right, let's move on to the next player. Rasmus Andersson of the Calgary Flames. My God. This guy's, I picked him up in 3 spots in my leagues here, and he's really been going bonkers. I love to see it. He's up to 10 points in his last 5 games now, just like we all drew it up, right? But I think, the Flames might want to look at re-signing Rasmus. I don't know. I think he looks pretty good out there. Looks like he knows what he's doing. But yeah, like I said, 10 points in the last 5. Metrics middling. In fact, not even very good for defensemen, right? Like 92nd overall in shots on goal per 60, 70th in an individual expected goals for per 60, and even the on-ice numbers are not great for Rasmus Andersson. So he's doing that off of massive efficiency. His IPP over that time, 78%, shooting percentage, 25%. He's going bonkers, right? So that's nice to see. But yeah, I think when we dig in on Rasmus Andersson, he's pacing for 55 points. That's really nice. Like, he's doing it all for the Flames right now. He's taken over power play 1 from Mackenzie Weegar. And I don't know, they may or may not be showcasing him to other teams as trade bait, but who the hell cares at this point, right? For fantasy, this guy's flying out there delivering massive value, and you probably got him off of waivers, right? I picked him up on waivers in 3 spots, and I just never dropped him because he's doing just enough, and now he's flying out there, right? In terms of his peripherals, he's not really a big hitter, but he's going to bring you a ton of blocks and now power play points as well. So I like to see that. It is worth mentioning when you dig in under the hood on Rasmus Andersson. Yeah, he's got at 5-on-5, especially, he's got the highest IPP in his career, highest on-ice shooting percentage, highest shots on goal per 60, highest individual scoring chances for per 60, right? That's going to come down, folks, right? He's redlining. But I will say, I don't think there's anyone else out there that can do what he's doing at the moment. And I think the Flames are happy to have him log these massive minutes, 25 and a half minutes over the past 5. That'll play, right? That's excellent deployment. And 55-point pace, yeah, I like that. I think this is with the cold streak, right? Early on, he wasn't getting very many points, and now he has a hot streak recently. So I think his true production is probably somewhere in the middle. And 55 seems close, maybe a bit high. But if he's going to get this kind of time on ice and opportunity, I think that it's in the wheelhouse, right? And he's going to cool off. But as long as he's with the Flames, I think a 45 to 50-point pace is totally reasonable. He just looks good out there. He looks energized. And if he does get traded, I would imagine he becomes more of a depth piece and loses a bunch of value. Nothing close to what he has currently here with the Flames. So until then, stay in the Flames and carry on. All right. He's been great. All right. Next player I want to talk about, Tyler Bertuzzi. Yeah, that gap-toothed beauty. This one is a bit of a surprise, to say the least. I do want to shout out. Someone DM'd me, or it was Twitter or it was Discord or something. They're like, should I activate Bertuzzi for, such and such? It was just one of the regular questions I get. And I was like, I'm not sure at this point. Like, he's coming back off injury. Like, maybe just, can you keep him in IR or whatever? And he's like, nah, I'll just drop him. I was like, okay. And then, of course, the guy pops off, right? he comes back from injury and he pops off. So apologies to you, my man. I'm sorry about that. I can't get them all right. And this is one, at least in that short-term period, where I just didn't see him continuing on this crazy play. So, 9 points in his last 5 games for Bertuzzi. Really nice, including 4 points in 3 since returning from the injury. And it's Chicago's been interesting. That's for sure. I will say they've been finishing at an extremely high rate. The Blackhawks are 28th in expected goals for 5-on-5, but 7th overall in actual goals scored. Okay, so they're doing that on efficiency. And add to that, their power play is 4th best in the league. So you're getting more production there, and you can see how some of the guys on this team are putting up some numbers, right? And then you look at Bedard, right? Taking another step this year. And just the kind of the fantasy fallout from that, right? People are riding his coattails. I think Bertuzzi in particular has seen all his time in the top 6, so that's a great place to be. The time on ice has been great, 1930 over the past 5, including all the power play 1 time. And I do think the addition of Frank Nazar has been a really good piece here for Chicago. I think that's helped with the play driving, right? Now Bertuzzi has 2 offensive centers to play with, right, in Bedard and Nazar. So, he can kind of mix and match, and he's found success with both guys. I think if we look at Tyler Bertuzzi's metrics, I've got his last 3 games here since injury. 5 points in those 3 games. Like I said, 19 and a half minutes, 45th overall in shots and goal per 60, 42nd overall in individual scoring chances for per 60, and then 10th overall in individual expected goals per 60. You love to see that with Bertuzzi there. And that's a small sample size, but if you go to what he's done for the whole year so far, he's 25th overall in individual expected goals per 60. So that's in his bag, right? This is a guy he's getting to those dirty areas, and he's getting fed some really nice chances. He's put in a position to succeed, and that's why his numbers are so good, right? His shooting percentage is 27.3%. That's ridiculous, right? That's not going to continue, but you can kind of understand why it's a little higher in this case, right? So I did want to shout that out. Like I said, 10th in expected goals per 60, excellent, really good. It just, with those numbers, it seems legit to me. Shooting percentage, almost 20% at 5-on-5. On-ice shooting percentage, also at a career high level at 5-on-5. So that said, too, I think he's a much bigger part of the offense. And I think a natural progression makes some sense. Is he going to continue to score at this rate? No, I don't think so. But I do think that we need to sort of look at him again, reevaluate in a little way, just his potential this season based on what we've seen. Right now, he's pacing for 82 points. I don't think that's happening, but this is a guy that's paced for 70 before. And I don't think he gets 70, but I think 60 is maybe close, right? And 60, that'll play. That's better than replacement to me. I think it's a player that should probably be on a roster. So shout out to Tyler Bertuzzi. Yeah, if you've got him, hold him. I think let's hold him until further notice. There's a lot of good stuff going on here with Tyler Bertuzzi. Next player I want to talk about, the Silver Fox, Alex Ovechkin. Ovi's still out here making me look like a dingus, right? A Hattie the other night, an assist as well, just to rub it in, salt in the wound. But yeah, I mean, metrics are decent for Ovi. Last 5 games, 8 points, 6 goals, 2 assists. Obviously, that's bolstered by a 4-point game, but shots are down with Ovi, which is a little bit concerning. He's 72nd overall in shots and goal per 60. He's still chucking pucks, though, 6th overall in that metric, and then 46th overall in individual expected goals per 60. So it's all the stuff that Ovi normally does, but like I said, the shots are kind of going down a little bit. But it's the ice time. The ice time, they're all over the shop, right? It looks good in the last 5. Like I said, 17 and a half minutes over the past 5, but that included a big game that was a 23-minute game against Tampa, which also included 7 minutes on the power play. So that's why he was out there so much. The 4 games before that, 15:35, 16:49, 15 minutes on the dot, and then 17:38. So that to me is more indicative of what we can expect from Ovi, the ice time. And that's not good enough to me. He's not even getting the full 2 minutes on the power play anymore. And Spencer Carberry talked about that a little bit. And that might stick, right? Where he doesn't get the full 2 minutes moving forward. So, we're lopping off a little bit more production off the top there. I think that he's had a big fall off with his shots and goal per 60 at 5-on-5 last season. His big season there, he was at 10.29 at 5-on-5. This season, 7.68 shots and goal per 60. So it's classic sell high stuff to me. There's red flags here. Career high shooting percentage this year at 20%. Career high on-ice shooting percentage is 17.7%. That's ludicrous, right? Those are going to go down for Ovi. I've said it before, this will go down, and he just keeps proving me wrong, so that's fine. But I do think Ovechkin is a sell high. If you can trade Ovi, I would do that, even with the 75-point pace he's putting up. Could you trade Ovi for one of our have-nots here today? I think there's some options, and maybe I'll talk about that when we get to that section. But this is a great stretch for Ovi, no question. Eventually I'll be right, whenever he just stops playing. He'll probably just go out on a high note and just make it so I'm never right. But this is going to come down, folks. Book it. All right, last guy we got to talk to about our hot shots, Morgan Geekie, the Geekster. We got to talk about Morgan Geekie. Like I said, the goal scoring leader for your 25-26 fantasy hockey season, Morgan Geekie. Yeah, he's leading the league in goals with 17. That's a thing. Morgan Geekie, folks, you love to see it. And I remember talking about Geekie 2 off seasons ago in my Players of Interest series that I do in the off season when I was at Boston. And I just liked what I saw. I liked the potential exposure to the top power play and David Pastrnak, and both of those things happened. And Geeky's really made good, to his credit as well, right? He's been massively efficient, as we know. He's really getting to biz at even strength. 13 of his 17 goals have been scored at even strength, which is a really interesting stat. I think that he's, because of his exposure to Pasta, that's really kind of been the key. That's been an absolute boon for him, right? He's been the recipient of amazing vision from Pasta, and he's already an efficient player to boot, right? Based on his body of work. So let's dig in on the last 5 metrics here for Morgan Geeky. 5 goals, 1 assist for 6 points, just under 17 minutes average time on ice, but metrics are popping off the page. He's doing a lot of stuff out there. 27th overall in shots on goal per 60. Love that. 7th overall in individual expected goals per 60. That's excellent. I mean, top 10 in the league. That's amazing. And then you look at what he's been able to do on the year. Like, this guy's pacing for 57 goals, folks. Dear God. I mean, 78 points, but 57 goals. This is like Sam Reinhart a couple years ago. His stretch as of late is better than his season-long numbers. So things are trending in the right direction here for Morgan Geeky. But you love to see it. You love to see those individual expected goals numbers. I think if those stay high, the shooting percentage has a good chance of staying high as well. Is he going to get 57 goals? I don't think so, right? But maybe he gets 40. Maybe Morgan Geeky gets 40 goals this year with like 25 assists. I could absolutely see that happening. I think there are lots of paths to that kind of production for Geeky, but the main one being the Bruins power play, which is a good one. Geeky's a mainstay out there. He's an integral cog, secondary scoring threat, right, to Pasta. And I think, Nate and I always reference this line here on Apples and Ginos. Kyle Connor, Mark Scheifele, and Gabe Vilardi as the perfect line in the NHL. They all have a specific role, and they play it so well. And I think that Geeky is sort of the Gabe Vilardi type of player, right? He's not driving the play. He's just really good at winning puck battles. He's good at getting in position, and he's got a wicked shot, right? I think he'll continue to see high danger looks as long as he's, stays attached to Pasta there and keep up a fairly high level of efficiency. So I think Geeky's taken a legitimate step. I think that, this pace is going to come down a bit, the goal pace, but still probably a hell of a lot more than you expected from Morgan Geeky in draft season. I think he's really carved out a consistent role for himself in this offense. Okay. All right, before we move on, we got to talk about the Apples and Ginos Patreon. Get your biscuits over there. Link is in the description. We've got some different tiers for you. We've got a supporter tier, $2 Canadian a month. And with that, you get access to the Apples and Ginos Patron League. We are full right now, but you can get on the wait list. And we've had a couple drop out where we've been able to pop people right onto a league there and a team. And it's kind of a way to kind of kickstart yourself. If you want to move up in the tiers there in the APL, that's the way to do it. So definitely get in there at the supporter level if you're interested in that. Next level is the Apples tier, which is $8 a month. And you do get that APL eligibility as well. But with this, you get access to patron-only Discord channels, which Nate and I are in all the time. You get access to patron-only live shows, which I'm going to be doing one tomorrow for our patrons, talking about my waiver wire process and kind of how I get the biz there. I'm also doing some team reviews. You also get all the show notes, which do include the weekly ad targets from our waiver wire show. You get that the night of, and you get access to the beautiful Apples and Ginos player evaluation tool. You can see here if you're on YouTube, got a screenshot of it. Looking at Morgan Geeky here. It's an invaluable tool. I use it every day whenever I'm valuing players. It's just a nice quick hit and gets you where you need to know. And we've sort of supplemented that with Mark Barber's 18 skaters expected goals model. So get in there. You got to do it. All right. You like winning, don't you? Well, so do I. All right. That's why we do this. All right, let's move on. We got to talk about the have-nots. Some pain coming up here, folks, but that's fine. First one, we want to talk about Wyatt Johnston of the Dallas Stars. Just 1 goal in 5 games. Oh, God, Wyatt, what are you doing? But that's fine. Wyatt's hurting our feelings, and I'm not here for it, but whatever. Just 1 goal in 5 games for Wyatt Johnston. Like I said, brutal stuff. 185th overall in shots on goal per 60. 58th overall in individual scoring chances for per 60, and 63rd overall in individual expected goals per 60. So that's not terrible. The on-ice numbers are pretty good in terms of, chance generation. 31st overall in scoring chances for per 60 and 16th overall in expected goals per 60 for his line when he's out on the ice. So that's pretty good. But I mean, those metrics are, the individual metrics down across the board, no question. Been a cold stretch for Joe. But if you look back at the 5 games previous to this, he had 9 points in those games. So yeah, I'm not super concerned about Joe at this point, but there has been some weird stuff there, especially the last few games with Rantanen and these penalties and ejections that he's taking. Wyatt Johnston plays with Rantanen. So if he's getting ejected, yeah, they're throwing the lines in a blender. It's kind of a weird vibe when you see something like that happen, though, especially when a guy like Romanov goes down and, you can tell he's badly injured. It just throws a lot of variance in there. Also, I think playing with Mikko Rantanen in general, I think the Stars are still trying to figure out their identity with a superstar of Rantanen's caliber. I think things have been hit and miss a little bit. Honestly, unless your name is Jason Robertson there on the team, everybody else is, we're kind of figuring things out. You look at Dallas, they're middling here at 5-on-5, and they're kind of being propped up by their power play, which has been really, really good. Johnston is currently a member of that power play, right? And a productive one at that. My God. Digging in here, 21 points Johnston has on the year. 13 of those are on the power play, including 8 power play goals. So he's really cooking there. That's obviously, that's the bulk of his production, right? So they just haven't quite, I think 5-on-5 is really where they need to kind of figure out what they're doing. And I don't think that Glenn Gulletson is really locked in lines in the top 6. And I think that's maybe a bit of a factor as well at even strength. I do expect that to normalize and for Dallas to figure it out sooner rather than later. Shooting percentage, on-ice shooting percentage, very low for Wyatt Johnston at 5-on-5. So I think those are due for positive regression, especially considering his individual talent and the talent of the players surrounding him. I think it's a nice buy low window for Johnston. Right? I mean, nothing's popping off the page. He's not going crazy. Like he's not a powder keg ready to blow, but I do trust the talent of this player and his access to that power play that's really popping off and just how low his numbers are at even strength compared to what they have been in the past. Right. So that's kind of how I'm getting there. On the year, Johnston's pacing for 78 points, which feels all right. Probably some headroom there for more, I would think. And his metrics are good, right? Particularly his individual expected goals per 60. Wyatt Johnston on the year, he's 11th overall in that, right? So yeah, he's had a bad 5-game stretch, but he's still 11th overall in that metric, right? 2nd overall in expected goals per 60, the on-ice expected goals per 60. So his line is really getting it done. Obviously, that's, Rantanen, that's him. They're doing stuff out there. So it looks really good. I just think that even strength production is going to come. I'm valuing Joe as a 75 to 80 point player, just like his point pace, right? Managers might feel differently though, because of how he's played lately. And that's what it is in fantasy hockey. What have you done for me lately, Joe? This guy's going to get cooking again. So I would definitely buy low on Wyatt Johnston. Book that. Let's talk about Adrian Kempe of the Los Angeles Kings. Kempe's been he's been pretty inefficient to start the year by his standards, for sure. This is a player that provides in other ways, like hits, blocks, and shots. So at least we have that kind of to fall back on with Kempe. But where are the Ginos, my man? We need those goals. I still have no idea why the Kings are trotting this 5-forward power play set out there. It makes no sense to me. They're 28th overall in the league in conversion on the power play and 19th in expected goals for per 60. So not much better. That's not good enough, Mr. Hiller. Please. Sure, Corey Perry is fun and it's a nice story, but dang, you got Brant Clark out here chomping at the bit to get out there and to facilitate some goals and passing. Right now, Kempe is playing the point, the quarterback there on the power play because of his defensive ability, I think. But because of that, he's not able to use his shot or even get in closer to the net where the high danger chances come, right? Because he's playing from the point. So shots from the point are not the same as shots from the slot, as shots from in front of the net, right? There's a varying degree of danger with those type of chances, right? So yeah, I just think it makes a big difference. Kempe is a guy that's had double-digit power play goals before, and you don't get that from shooting from the point. You just don't. The metrics show that as well. Like on the power play, Kempe's IPP has dropped from 60% last year to 50% this year. His shots on goal per 60 has actually gone up. which is pretty nice. But his shooting percentage went from 13.7 last year to just 4.5 this year, right? And there's a correlation between the expected goals there, right? Like where those shots are coming from makes a big difference. And, you know, I just think he's taken a lot more shots from the perimeter as opposed to in tight where there's a better chance of them going in, right? And that all said, I still think that's going to go up. Even if he does stay as the power play quarterback, I still think 4.5%, very low, right? This is a guy that, you know, they're going to rotate. He's going to get in and around the net where he needs to be. I think that they need to make some changes on that power play. I'd love to see them put Brant Clark out there. It makes a bunch of sense. I'm not sure what the hesitation is there. The Kings' even strength deployment seems to be in transition as well. We got Kopitar giving up big minutes to the new number one center, Quentin Byfield. And I think the lines have changed a little bit as well. You got Kempe playing with Byfield and Fiala as of late, which sounds like a great place to be. But Kempe away from Kopitar, who's a long time line mate of his, that's going to be an adjustment, right? They know where each other are when they're out there on the ice. And you got a guy like Fiala and Byfield, both dynamic players. Like that's going to take a little while to make some reads with those two players. So let's look at Kempe's metrics over the last 5 games. First off, he's got 2 points in 5 games. That's showing no good, but minutes are good, averaging over 20 minutes. 28th overall in shots to goal per 60. Love that. 2nd overall in chuck and pucks per 60. Very good, but only 115th overall in individual expected goals per 60. And I think there is, like, this is an all-strength metric that we're talking about. You saw, like I told you, he's having like major shots on the power play, but I really think they're coming from an area that is not high danger. So therefore, I think we can see why that individual expected goals per 60 is lower than it should be, right? I don't know. Who's with me on that? Come on, give me a heck yeah. Oh, yeah. Give me a heck yeah in the comments. Help me out, all right? Please. I love reading comments, especially ones that say I talk too much. Oh, God. It's a podcast. What do you want me to do? I've been taking some heat out there in these fantasy hockey streets, and I don't care. All right. I love this stuff. I'm happy to be here, folks. But anyways, I'm digressing. Anyways, you can see with Kempe, he's still shooting. He's chucking pucks. I just think that this is a player that the team relies on heavily for offense. I think his role is secure. They're going to put him in every offensive situation and given him every opportunity to produce. So I'm not overly concerned. And like I said, you got the periffs there to kind of, take you through the storm here and tread water while he's kind of figuring things out. But I love the player. I love to see them make a change on that power play. I think that would really unlock some of these Kings players. Let's move on. We got to talk about some Utah Mammoth. First up, Triple Pickle McCrispy. Dylan Guenther, buddy. I don't know. Dylan Guenther might need another ice fishing trip with the boys. Things have not been going well. Minutes are starting to vary as well for Dylan Guenther, and he may be falling out of favor a touch with the head coach, Andre Torini, there. We've already seen Torini move Guenther off of power play 1, albeit for a short time, right? He did get back on power play 1, but just the fact that he did that, I mean, it says to me that he does have some questions about Guenther's game. I think you look at Guenther's deployment over the last 5 games too. I mean, average time on ice, 17 minutes, so that's fine, but it's actually been all over the map. Last game, 14:25. Game before that, 17:57, 19:45, 15:40, 17:23. I know he doesn't kill penalties, but you got to find a way to get your best scorer, your best shooter out there for some more minutes, right? So let's dig in on Dylan Guenther's metrics here. Last 5 games, 2 goals. Okay. Like I said, averaging 17 minutes time on ice, but 13th overall in shots to goal per 60. You love that. 40th overall in individual expected goals per 60. Still good, right? Still very good, actually. But, the minutes, like I said, are really, really kind of hurting Guenther at this point. I think the Mammoth vibes have been off a lot lately as well, and that's been a bit concerning. With Guenther in particular, shooting percentage, on-ice shooting percentage are way off base. So those are usually signs of like an upcoming positive regression. I just think, like I said, with the Mammoth, they're having some problems generating chances out there. They're having no problems generating chances. I should say that, but their defense has been porous, right? At best, they're 24th overall in goals against per 60 at 5-on-5, And their power play has been surprisingly inept with the 26th best conversion rate. What the hell? They are 15th best in expected goals, though, they are 15th best in expected goals per 60. That's hard to say. So that is something, right? But it's really where Gunther's been kneecapped. I think his numbers at 5-on-5, when you dig in, they're very similar to what they were last year, which is great to see. But the power play numbers, that's a different story. Gunther is shooting a ton, but his IPP, his shooting percentage, his individual scoring chances for per 60, and his on-ice shooting percentage are all at career lows with the man advantage for Dylan Gunther. He crushed for 29 power play points last year, and this year he only has 4 power play points in 22 games. That show ain't no good, right? I mean, Utah's got to find a way to get this power play cooking, but even if it doesn't, again, I maintain that Torini needs to find a way to get Gunther out there a bit more, get him involved in the play, right? You can't have this guy playing 14 minutes a game when you're losing games out there. It doesn't make any sense. So I definitely buy low on my boy, Triple Pickle McCrispy. Fun fact, Triple Pickle McCrispy is actually a sandwich at McDonald's here in Canada, and I bought one today. I bought a Triple Pickle McCrispy, and it was delightful. All right, I'm giving it 7.5 out of 10. Very dilly and crispy. So I really enjoyed that. I would recommend. I definitely will eat again. Okay. All right. All right. Let's move on to Clayton Keller of the same Utah Mammoth. And a lot of what I just said about Gunther goes for Keller too, right? I mean, especially on the power play, it's been garbage. That's for sure. Not as expected. There are a couple differences as well, though, with Clayton Keller. One major one being Keller's drop in IPP at 5-on-5. It's been crazy. He went from 83% last year, which is an elite number, right? Top of the league, like in and around there, to just 50% so far this campaign. So that's just a shocking turn of events to me, honestly. And I'd expect that to go back up, right? The way it's been throughout his whole career. This guy is an elite play driver. But for whatever reason here this year, he just has not been in on the goals scored when he's out there. And, I think this type of play driving ability that Keller has, that doesn't just go away, right? He might be gripping the stick a little bit too much, right? Trying to do too much, maybe focusing more on the defensive side of the puck. Either way, he needs to get it going. 75-point pace. That's fine. But I mean, we drafted this guy in the 3rd round, 4th round, right? He had 93 points last year. So I think that Keller is a buy low as well. But like I said about Gunther, the power play here in Utah, that's the same story. Keller has yet to score with the man advantage, which is shocking as well. He's popped for 10 goals and 37 power play points in 2024-25. That was good enough for 4th in the entire league in terms of power play points. This is not going to continue, folks. He only has 6 points on the power play. So when you look at his underlying numbers, we should do that. Clayton Keller, 3 points in the last 5. 48th overall in shots on goal per 60, 41st overall in chuck and pucks per 60, but 3rd overall in individual expected goals per 60 over the last 5 games. That's what we want to see, right? That says to me he's getting to those greasy areas. He's getting his chances. He's just been really unlucky. He's 17th overall in individual expected goals for per 60 on the year, right? So generating a ton of chances, just very unlucky, right? So just a feather in your cap. Just put that here on the back burner. Clayton Keller and the Utah Mammoth, I think, are going to bounce back. I feel a lot more confident in Clayton Keller than I do Dylan Gunther just because of the ice time, right? Like Clayton Keller's ice time is not going anywhere where Gunther's has kind of been all over the shop, like I said. So anyways, buy low on the Utah Mammoth. They'll figure it out. This team is really good offensively, just unfortunately really poor defensively, and they're not getting good goaltending from vegetable lasagna either. So let's move on to our last player here. We got to do a Braden Point check-in, a fantasy manager check-in for Braden Point holders. How you doing, folks? I'm sorry. All right, this is terrible. I know that you're hurting a lot with Point on your rosters, and it's been a rough one. There's no question there. He's got 3 goals on the year. 3. All right. He's got 3 points on the power play in 21 games. 3. I mean, I don't even know what to say about that, right? I mean, now we got this potential injury on the horizon with him and Kucherov, and it's just going from bad to worse with Braden Point here. We do got to look at the metrics here. Last 5 games, I mean, is nothing to write home about, folks. 2 assists in 5 games. Minutes are still there, right? He's just under 18 minutes average time on ice, but 162nd overall in shots to goal per 60. That's no good, man. That's not going to cut it. 55th overall in individual expected goals per 60. So that's promising to some degree, right? And his on-ice numbers are really good, as you would expect from a player of his caliber playing with a player of Nikita Kucherov's caliber, right? Scoring chances for per 60, 36 overall in on-ice numbers, and then on-ice expected goals for per 60, 25th overall in the last 5 games. Brayden Point is on the year. He fares a little bit better, certainly in the on-ice numbers. They're, in the top 30, and his individual expected goals for per 60, 32nd overall in the league. So he's doing the right things in the right areas. He's just been extremely unlucky. And, that's the word, extreme. Like, I think just the shooting percentage drop off alone, that's crazy stuff to me. He's shooting 6.8% this year. He shot 22.3 last year. 6.8 he's shooting this year. What? I mean, God dang, Brayden, what are you doing? I don't get it, right? So I just think that's pretty extreme, right? The power play points, like I said, crazy low. I mean, not much has changed when he was going into the new season here. So that leads me to believe that there's some type of injury or something else going on behind the scenes with Brayden Point. I mean, don't quote me on that. I don't know anything for a fact, but this is very concerning. And yeah, I wish I could sit here and tell you that it's all going to be good, right? He's going to come out of it, but based on the underlying metrics and now this injury, I cannot say that with confidence. And that said, I still want to buy low. This is very low, right? Way low. Okay. So, his owners are probably pooping their pants right now, hating life with this anchor on their fantasy squad. So I would toss out some offers for Point, even with an injury, right? As long as it's not catastrophic. But this makes no sense. This makes absolutely no sense. I can't put my finger on it. Tampa Bay's power play has been awful, right? The 21st overall in conversion. That's shocking in itself, right? That's been a major factor in Point's downfall. This is a guy that regularly shoots over 20% on the season, and he's also a premier rush player in the league who enters the zone with impunity, sets up his line mates for scoring chances, and he's still that guy, in my opinion, right? We're trusting the value or the talent of the player as opposed to kind of what we're seeing here, but I would value him a little bit differently moving forward. If you have him on your team, I'm sorry, I would definitely explore some offers, but I still don't want pennies on the dollar, right? I don't believe that this is a 45-point player this year. He's not Jonathan Huberdeau from years ago, right? I don't see that in the cards, right? Unless there's a significant problem that Brayden Point is dealing with, right? He's also got a much better environment than Jonathan Huberdeau had that year in Calgary. Brayden Point is in Tampa, right? With one of the best offensive players in the world. So, it's bleak, but it's not hopeless, folks. I'm going to go down with the ship on Brayden Point, right? I mean, the potential for him to get back to a 3rd round value is just too high to ignore. So yeah, I mean, take that for what it's worth, but it is stinky. I'm sorry for your loss. This is bad stuff. So anyways, that's it for the have-nots. If we didn't talk about a player you want to hear about, make sure you join Mondays, 8:30 Eastern time, live stream puzzling players. Nate's getting to biz. Double check on that because Nate is away. So there's a slim chance he might not be able to get it done. So we'll keep you definitely updated in the Discord here and on Twitter. Okay. But I want to move on to another segment here called The Environment. Yeah. And I'm going to keep this short and sweet because, yeah, I want to just give you some information here. One of the things I wanted to do with this particular segment today is look at some teams who are really being saved by their goaltenders, but the defensive environment is not looking very good. And I got 4 good ones right here. So take a look. If you're over on YouTube, I've got up some kind of infographics from advancedhockeystats.com. That's jfresh/Patrick Bacon's amazing hockey analytics website. I use it every day. It's excellent. Corey Schneider links his stuff there once he has enough data with the microstat card. So definitely shout out to advancedhockeystats.com. I'm using some visuals from their website here for 4 teams. First team I want to talk about, and this is just going to be rapid fire, but you can see on the screen here, Boston. How do you like them apples, Boston? They are 30th overall at 5-on-5 in expected goals against per 60. That's showing no good, right? But they're 23rd overall in actual goals against. And The reason being, Jeremy Swayman is number 1 in the entire league in goals saved above average, right? So he's really keeping that actual goals against number lower than it probably should be, right? And that's kind of what I'm getting at with this segment here. The next team on this list here, San Jose Sharks, right? We've talked about them before. They're 25th overall in expected goals against per 60 and 20th in actual goals against per 60. So, yeah, that's not such an extreme swing there, but it's a guy named Askarov, a really good goalie in San Jose that's really been cooking there. He's been the reason when he's in net that they've pulled out some wins here. His goals saved above average on the year, 5th overall in the entire league. Yaroslav Askarov, that's great stuff, right? So a really nice piece there. He's been a great goalie. I can't say the same for Nedeljkovic in net there in San Jose. So that's why you're not seeing such an extreme jump from expected goals against to actual goals against, because Askarov and Ned were sort of flipping back and forth, but it seems to me that it's Askarov's net moving forward with his play. Next thing we want to talk about, New York Islanders. They are 26th overall in expected goals against per 60, but 15th overall in actual goals against at 5-on-5, right? And the reason being, Ilya Sorokin. His goals saved above average. He's second best in the league behind Jeremy Swayman. So, yeah, he's really come to play this year. That environment there, I mean, we've talked about it many times, but I think Nate and I dispelled this a couple of years ago about still this stigma that New York Islanders are this stingy defensive team. Well, they're not. All right. They're not stingy. Okay. They are 26th in the entire league in expected goals against per 60 at 5-on-5. That's not stingy. All right. That's a literal sieve. So Sorokin's been playing really well there. And then the last team and the most extreme team we're looking at is the Minnesota Wild. Their defensive environment, 31st overall in expected goals against per 60, second worst in the league, but they're 6th best in actual goals scored against. That's crazy, right? And the reason being, we got Wallstead in here, who's had an amazing stretch of play. He's 7th overall in the entire league in goals saved above average. And Philip Gustafsson is 12th in the same metric. So you've got an elite tandem there that is really keeping this team afloat, not just keeping them afloat, but winning them games, right? And all this to say, what this means to me is that these goalies are having to catch bullets in their teeth for these teams to compete. And they are currently, right? That's something that Kevin Woodley says. Shout out to Kevin Woodley. Goalies catching bullets in their teeth, right? They're outplaying their environment. And to me, that's a slippery slope at best. And I don't like betting on that really for fantasy hockey. Like, I don't believe it to be sustainable. Not that it isn't, or not that it can't be, not that these goalies can't keep it up, but I don't know. I just think there's really nothing you can do with this info. It's more of like a data point. So you could just see things for how they are, right? A little more clearly out there. And, you know, as an example, it isn't that the Wild are this defensive juggernaut, right? I think this proves that they're actually hemorrhaging chances and shots. It's just that their goalie tandem is the best in the entire league currently. And if you're rostering said goalies, just know that the defensive environments are some of the worst in the NHL. So some goalies thrive in that situation. So I'm not saying they can't keep it up, but do I want to bet that they will? I don't know. I'd rather roster a goalie on a team that knows how to defend, right? And this is something that comes to play a little bit more in draft season when you're picking your goalie for the years, you know, or like you're kind of making an evaluation in draft season. Obviously, we have to, you know, you can roster these guys no problem during the year, right? And if you catch them while they're hot, like kudos to you, right? That's part of the 0G draft strategy. But I'm just letting you know that these goalies are massively outperforming their environment and helping their team get some wins. So keep in mind too, these are just the metrics of 20 some odd games in. So this is going to change. These teams can improve their defensive environment. I just thought it was interesting. Okay. Move over to the next segment here. We're talking about Under the Hood, and it's a player that I wanted to just highlight really quickly here. Shane Gostisbehere of the Carolina Hurricanes. Really like this player. I got him in one spot, and he's he's been very reliable for fantasy. Let's look at why we're talking about him. First of all, last 5 games, he's got 5 assists. His ice time, really nice. Just under 23 minutes average time on ice. Last 5 games, the metrics are looking really good amongst defensemen. 26 overall in shots to goal per 60, 10th overall in chuck and pucks per 60, 14th overall in individual expected goals for 60. So that's excellent. But it's the on-ice numbers that I'm really interested in here with Shane Gostisbehere. Corsi 4/60 when he's out there, he's number one in the entire league. Scoring chances 4/60, he's second best, and then sixth best in expected goals per 60 on-ice rank over the last 5 games. Really nice stuff. And then if you look at what he's done on the season, right? Like, he's the cream of the crop. He does that. Season-long metrics for him, same on-ice metrics there. Corsi 4/60, scoring chances 4/60, and expected goals per 60. He's number one in every one. Shane Gostisbehere on the year. So I think with that type of, a play-driving offense that he is when he's out there at even strength, plus the fact that his minutes are starting to trend up, right? This is a guy that sometimes gets the 18 to 20 minute treatment. Well, now he's getting, especially the last 5 games, the 20 to 23 minute treatment. And I think if that continues, this could be a career season for Ghost if he's able to keep it going. So that said, too, we've talked about how he doesn't bring much else to the table. So, keep that in mind. Like, he's not bringing any real, hits, blocks, nothing like that, right? If he's not scoring, he's going to give you donuts out there. And sometimes that's hard to take. But, I wanted to bring up as well that the Carolina power play, it's underachieving massively, right? And Gostisbehere's power play numbers are low for him. This is a guy that regularly gets 20 to 30 power play points annually. So I think that, we were seeing some really good even strength numbers and some really bad power play numbers. I think that's going to normalize to some degree, but he's already off to a really good start. Maybe he's redlining. His IPP and his on-ice shooting percentage are very high at 5-on-5. They're likely to regress, but like I said, power play performance going to regress positively. And I think that we could see a 60-point pace from Gostisbehere rest of season. I like that. Maybe that's a hot take, but I'm high on this player, and I think you should be too. I like what I've seen out there from Ghost. Get that power play going, though. What the hell's going on? All right. We got to move on to an unfortunate segment here. The head-to-head streamer Deathmatch. Oh, man. I thought I had it locked up in the bag. It was my Jackson Blake against Nate's Ryan McLeod. And, Jackson Blake failed me. Ryan McLeod came through in the clutch, and Nate got the biz. He took a dub here this week. So now we're tied 3-3. So that's fine. I like to, kind of string Nate along a little bit, make him feel good, and then just obliterate him, hurt his feelings, right? No, we don't do that. We do the opposite, folks. All right. That's not what crossing the streams is about. Okay. But anyways, we're tied 3-3 now. Going into next week here, I've got Claude Giroux, which is great. And Nate took Braden Bowman. He's taking a ride. So I feel good about that. I think we're in pretty good shape for the upcoming week, but that's it, folks. We did it. That's it for the episode. Really appreciate you being here with me. Hopefully it brought you some value, helped you get a little bit better at fantasy hockey today. All the advanced stats you heard from came from Natural Stat Trick. Terrific free resource, 18 skaters, advancedhockeystats.com. Love it. Definitely check them out. Many thanks to Matt Creamer, my brother, for supplying the music for the podcast. But that's it, folks. Celebrate your day. Bye for now.